Hello and welcome to the Health Odyssey podcast, episode 282. And if you are listening on the day of release or near to the day of release, it is the 23rd of January. So many of you will have started the new year with some kind of idea or thought, or not necessarily a New Year's resolution, but some kind of thinking that you're going to get back into a routine, that you're going to be more healthy, that you're going to establish some good habits and whatnot. So we're going to be talking about some of that stuff today because I know it's the third week, into January. But I was talking to some members. You probably had this, Pete, I'd imagine as well. New Year's Day was a Thursday, and most people were off work until the following Monday, which was the 5th. So most people are like, well, we'll start on Monday the 5th.
There was the meme with Leonardo DiCaprio in Great Gatsby when he's doing the cheers
Yeah,
with his
yeah.
glass, and it was like I saw that on New Year's Day. It was like cheers to everyone who's already said on the first day of the year that they're going to wait till Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first Monday when everyone was back at work, most people were back at work and stuff like that was Monday the 5th. And then I think a lot of people kind of said, well, the kids maybe my kids didn't go back till the Tuesday, and kids maybe went back on the Tuesday or the Wednesday. And there's lots of kind of like food and drink around the house from Christmas. So you're like, well, we'll start properly on the 12th, and then it's
Yeah, because
kind of it gradually gets
there's
pushed
food
back.
around. Oh, it's been snowing. I can't. Yeah, I can't get to the gym because it's been snowing. All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So it's probably, I mean, a lot of people, you may have only been going for like a week or 2 weeks, so, even though it's the 23rd of January today. Anyway, today it is with Pete and myself, and we have had the last 8 weeks with guests. So just to refresh your and our memory, because yeah, we do like to try and have a catch up, but maybe like once every month, once every 6 weeks, something like that. But the last 8 weeks we've had guests. So last week we had Mark Tonner on. We were reviewing the Lift for Life that happened over Christmas. The week before that we had Paddy Haynes on, his second visit with us. The week before that, we had Levi Strong from Southern Maryland in the USA. The week before that, we had Chris Beetham on from Scotland. The week before that, Emma Brennan from Northern Ireland. The week before that, Pavel Matchek from Prague. God, you can see we're really traveling around the world with these guests. The week before that was Caroline Southgate, and the week before that was Shane Nugent, the dietitian. So yeah, we've had 8 weeks of very varied guests on, and then today it's Pete and I. So I mean, what we thought we would do, we were talking about a bit about this beforehand, was there's so much stuff that you see nowadays at the start of the year, in January especially, where there are there's special documentaries on TV or programs on TV around health, fitness, diet, exercise. My Facebook sort of feed and Instagram feed is filled with things like skinny teas and detoxes, and the latest kind of workout fads, and all kind of newspapers, even the broadsheets and the kind of tabloids have got articles in there about the best way to train and all the rest of it. So what we thought we would do today was do something by going through what the two of us, we've been saying for years really, but look at the five big rocks of health and fitness for 2026, and then in brackets and every year, because they're the same five big rocks that we would have ever said last
Is
year. Pete, what do you want to say?
is High Rocks one of them?
And
That's not Rubbish and High Rocks, by the way, or
the
anything.
big rocks,
Just
the
popped
big
into my head. And
ROX, the big ROX. Yeah.
also, we haven't mentioned it for a while, so I thought it would.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and also just a quick shout out to friend of the show, Steve Bush. So as we are recording this, actually, well, a couple of things. As we are recording this, Steve is going out to Orlando to do the Disney Marathon. Steve's been on the show a couple of times before, so he is the gentleman who had the gastric surgery 5 years ago now, over 5 years ago. Totally has changed his life. He's on his way out to America to run the Disney Marathon for Kids Inspire. And also, as we record this, very sad news over the last few days, and I think it was yesterday. It was the Pa O'Dwyer funeral in Ireland. So that's happened all within the last couple of days prior to recording this. So yeah, it's a massive loss to the strength, and the strong man and the community, and also, just a massive internet presence. I know a lot of people followed him and enjoyed watching his content who weren't necessarily into strongman or training themselves, but he just kind of became a massive sort of online persona, influencer, whatever you want to call it, over the last kind of year or two. So RIP to Pa O'Dwyer. Um, so yeah, Pete, these big rocks, and just so people understand, it's that old story, isn't it, of how you, if you want to try and get the most possible stuff into a jar, which was the story you always hear when you go to business kind of net seminars and things. You put the big rocks in first, and then you put gravel in, and then you put sand in, and then you put water in, and you can fit the most stuff in. Whereas if you put all the other bits in first, you can't fit the big rocks in. So the big rocks are really the most important things that will move the needle or shift the needle some way for you. And like I say, all the other bits that you get sold, the kind of, the skinny teas, the detoxes, even the ice baths, the saunas, the recovery tools, the massage guns, the supplements, all that kind of stuff. These big things, you need to be getting these big rocks right first. I think a while ago, Pete, you said, didn't you, that you've been training for kind of seriously for 10 years before you then started looking at sort of supplementation and taking supplements and things, where
Yep.
many people, oh, it's that supplement, that's the thing that's missing for me. If I get that supplement, that's going to make the difference. But it's really important that we get all the stuff right. So we're going to go through these one at a time, and we're going to talk about them not to any huge length, because like I say, they're fairly straightforward things that we've talked about many times before. So it's kind of a reminder, really, for many of you, I would imagine. And they're not really in a particular order, although I have put them in an order, I suppose, almost of priority. But I'm not going to argue if you think number one should be number two, or number three should be number four, or whatever. But there's five different things. So the first one we've got on there is sleep. So, and again, some of the things we're not going to give any hard and fast kind of recommendations on, but I think it's fairly well established that for optimal health and optimal performance, you want to be trying to go for somewhere between 7 and 9 hours sleep a night. How does that sit with you, Pete? Are you pretty good at sleeping?
I'm very good at sleeping. But to put this into context, right? Because people will talk about a lot of people talk about magnesium now and how it helps you sleep, right? But there was someone I spoke to about that actually a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh, well, it just gave me the shits," and I was like, "Okay, so it's not for you then." Fair, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway,
Were they maybe taking more of it than they
I,
should? The
I
dose.
don't
That's
know.
the thing. Yeah,
I've
yeah,
no idea, right?
yeah.
I started taking magnesium like 6 months ago or something like that, and I wasn't sleeping badly, but I think I'm sleeping better.
Mm.
But I got the ring, didn't I? After I had Nancy on, and the interesting thing about my ring is, I was talking to somebody about this because there's another guy who comes along who to the kettlebell sessions that I do, and he's been talking about drinking, right? He's same age as me, turns 50 this year, and he's been talking about like he does the 12 pubs of Christmas every year, right? And they go out around 12 pubs and drink 12 pints or whatever. And he's
What,
like,
in one night?
yeah,
Oh God.
right.
Okay.
And
Right.
I was like that. What? You know what I mean? What? But he was saying, he goes, "Oh, I don't think I can do it anymore. It's really hard." He's a big guy as well. You know what I mean? It's not like he couldn't.
Yeah, but 12
You know,
pints in
I
one
know.
night. I mean,
So he's like, maybe I should do it with shorts instead or whatever. I was like, oh, just not do it, right? But I was like, it's fine if you want to do it, you want to do it, right? But like,
or
it's
do 1 pint a day in
yeah,
one pub 12
yeah.
days in a row. That
But
would be.
so anyway, he said, oh, it's become a big thing, and lots like there's like 20 of them do it or something like that. And I was just like, okay, fair enough. But then I started to talk to him about sleep and just energy and all of this sort of stuff. And since I got this ring, it's funny because I don't not drink, right? But I don't drink very much. But if we go down the pub on a Friday, like Sean finishes work and she'll get in, we'll take the dog down the pub and we'll go and have a couple of beers before we come back and make dinner. Um, my heart rate overnight is 10 beats per minute higher than it is when I don't. And I get less or zero REM sleep, REM sleep, which is your restorative sleep. So, and that is pretty much holds true every single time. So if I have 2 pints, I don't sleep as well. So when people are saying, but you don't wake up with a hangover, and I'm not saying to cut out drinking and all that. I'm just saying these are my experiences, right? I don't drink as much as I used to. I don't not drink, but when I do, and even just like 2 pints, I don't wake up with a hangover, but I can demonstrate that my sleep hasn't been as good as it was. So when we talk about sleep and getting a good number of hours, it's going to bed at the same time every night. So I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night, even at weekends. Apart from the odd, like every now and then when we're out with friends or something like that, doing something, we might get to bed a bit later, but it's 10 o'clock every night. I get up roughly a similar time every morning. And I usually sleep right through the night.
What time would that? That's okay.
There's some banging going on and the dog's about to go nuts.
Okay. And what time would that be that you'd normally wake up in the morning?
6.
Okay, so you'd get
between 6 and 7,
8-ish hours sleep a night.
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, 7 to 9. Yeah,
and
perfect.
and the thing is, like I say, if everything's equal, I get similar REM sleep, light sleep, and deep sleep. That's what this measures, and it's basically round about the same every time. So I get like an hour and a half deep sleep, an hour's REM sleep, and the rest is shallow sleep, and a little bit of awake time as well, because you kind of drift in and out, don't you? So even though I don't even realize I'm awake, and that's just from routine. And I sleep. Okay, I said I've started taking magnesium, but I go walking, I train most days. I don't sit around all day. I'm out and about doing stuff. And like if I'm sitting at my laptop doing anything, it's like 2 hours in the day. And that's on a day. That's a lot for me. Other time I'll be up and about doing things, or going off to meet people, or going to business breakfasts, or training or walking, or out in the park with the guys or whatever. So, or walking the dog or whatever. So there's very little, not downtime, but very little kind of just sitting around doing nothing. And that, so my brain's working, my body's working. So by 10 o'clock, I'm ready to go to sleep.
No, so I think that's, I think you touched on there that kind of the routine, the sleep at the same time or similar time every night going to bed, similar time waking up. I mean, I do that as well. I mean, some days I'm in bed before 9 o'clock in the evening, because if I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, then that kind of makes sure that I get a decent kind of 7 or 8 hours. So yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say about the sleep, but just prioritize it. It's really important, and that will do. We'll give like a number 6 at the end, which is not the big 5, but it's the kind of all the other stuff that that kind of, one of them will be like supplements, that kind of thing. But you need to get these big 5. These are going to give you the most bang for your buck and move the needle, if you like, the most. The second one is nutrition, and this will include, just for the sake of ease, it will include hydration, so making sure you're drinking enough water. We've already mentioned alcohol, so it'll include limiting, either cutting out or limiting alcohol, certainly being very, very mindful of it. And the other thing, I suppose, we just mentioned just before coming on as well, that I think it was yesterday or maybe even today, that the USDA, I think, have just released like a new, an updated food pyramid that's been released, which has kind of superseded the kind of one that's been around, I think, for probably the last 50 or so years. And what they're now saying is, I mean, it's the kind of stuff that we've been probably saying on this podcast, and other people within the kind of health and wellness and fitness space have been saying for years. But for political and economic reasons, things are sometimes the way they are. So it's, prioritizing protein and dairy and fruit and vegetables and single ingredient whole foods, massively being the kind of major part of your diet. and then towards the bottom, the kind of maybe the bottom 20-25% being, starchy carbohydrates, and it doesn't even have things like, sweets and chocolates and stuff like that on. But that would obviously be the very, very tiny, 1 or 2% in the pyramid. But that's obviously been changed just today or yesterday. But again, we're not going to go massive. We've had obviously Shane Nugent on the podcast recently talking about nutrition, but I think both you and I, Pete, we're mindful of what we eat and we're aware of what we eat, and that doesn't mean to say we never eat, you know, rubbish or have a snack or a treat or whatever. But it's just that really 80 to 90% of the time you want to be adhering to solid kind of principles, I suppose. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
an example is over Christmas, I was in Guernsey at Sean's parents' place. A mum likes to make cakes, so she'd made a Christmas cake, right? So that was there. Um, but and that was a big old cake, right? And she eats like a bird. So
Yeah.
you
Someone's got
know,
to someone's got to eat it, yeah.
yeah. And then, but she'd also there was like a lot of other food about, obviously, as well, and mince pies and all that. But she was like, "Oh, I've made a lemon drizzle as well." And it was like, okay, like, just cause. Well, I fancied some lemon drizzle, and it's like, okay. So here's the thing for me. I ate loads of it. I ate loads of Christmas cake. I had a couple of bits of lemon drizzle. I had some mince pies because it's there. It was there, right? Go out for a walk, whatever, come back. Anyone fancy a bit of cake? I'd be like, yes. And I'd made the conscious decision to just say, yes, I'm going to say yes, because I'm only here for a week,
Yeah.
right? And then after that, it's back to normal again. But for me, that is, if it's there, I will have it. And if it's not there, I won't miss it. So
Mm.
when we're like in the house and that, I buy food. I go to the supermarket, like I've mentioned this before, a couple of times a week, and buy enough food for the week or for the next few days. And I very rarely have biscuits, chocolate, all that lying around, because if it's there, I will eat it.
Mm.
Sean's the opposite. Sean can have it in the cupboard and forget about it, right?
Mm.
But if it's there, I'll be like, "Do you want to like that? The chocolate that Jeanette sent us,
Oh yes, yeah. The bee chocolate.
the
The
bee chocolate. It's
yeah,
really nice,
yeah.
right?" So I've eaten most of that because I'll be saying to Sean, "Do you want some chocolate?" No, I'm all right, thanks. And I'm like, "Well, I'm having some." So
Mm.
I've eaten pretty much all of it.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, the
So,
thing is that, and that's kind of what we said, wasn't it, around at the start, where we said these first 2 weeks, say for example, of January, people are very much, we've got all this food in the house. We've got to kind of get rid of it, as it were, and eat it. And in many ways, it's kind of true. What you have stuff, I mean, you have stuff in the house you wouldn't normally have in the house, and it's there. And I think that, but like you say, Christmas. We've said this. I think we say this every single year. We've been doing this for over 5 years now. It's not important what you do between Christmas and New Year. It's important what you do between New Year and Christmas.
exactly.
So that week or 2 weeks over Christmas, if you're kind of like, pretty good the rest of the year and you're exercising, you're doing these five big rocks that we're talking about today, having a few days or even a few weeks, once a year or once in the summer, once in the winter, it's not gonna massively change you if the rest of the time you're doing all these things that we're talking about, is it?
Well, I've also seen this year more than any other year, I think. Or I don't know if I don't know if people are talking about this more than they do before, or I'm just seeing it more. Who knows? But
Yeah.
it's the whole thing of like, people set New Year's resolutions, they'll set goals for the year and all that, and then go balls to the wall in January.
Mm.
And it's like the year is 12 months long. You don't have to do everything in January. You can start. I've not done anything new this week, really.
Mm.
It's like I say this week, the end of January now, but it's the first week or the second week of January now,
Mm.
the first full week. And I've not done anything that differently, really. It's pointless trying to change everything now. Things will evolve over the year. And I have got goals and stuff like that, but I've not really done anything about them in the first week because everyone
Mm.
else, if your goals depend on sort of like influencing other people and getting other people to, or inspiring other people, say, and get them to do things and all of this sort of stuff, arguably for their better health and everything, they're already going to be inundated with all of that in January anyway. So,
Mm.
it's one of those things, isn't it? But it's the big gestures that people try and make rather than doing doing the thing of just be mindful every single day of what you're doing.
Yeah, well, in fact, that's really good actually, because that brings us on to the next, the third big rock, and this is something I did a post for our members yesterday. So the third one I put down is walking. Now, and I sent you a clip, didn't I, from Huberman, who was
Yeah,
like, because everyone's now like, talking about walking. It's kind of like a trendy thing now, but
I
I
know.
mean,
It's like honestly, it's funny. It's one of this. It doesn't annoy me, but it's funny. It's like the food pyramid. We've been talking about that for 5 years, right? And then all of a sudden, it's all over the Facebook now because, like, it's the Americans have turned it upside down. It's like, oh right, okay, but we've been saying that for bloody ages, and so have loads of other people. And then yeah, walking. Been talking about that for ages. I've been running doing a walking business for 3 years.
Yeah. So the walking,
but that came out of years before of me just doing it and then thinking like I'll turn it into something.
Because the reason I was going to say, because I did a post yesterday, and this ties in with what you said about not trying to do everything at once and go really extreme. Because the other thing is when people think about goals, they maybe look and think, right, in 3 months or 6 months or whatever, this is going to be. And I did a post because on my phone, just in the Apple, the Health app, it tells you your average number of steps for last year, the average number of daily steps for the whole of 2025. And mine's around 9,500. And 2 weeks of the year, when I don't take my phone on holiday, that's registered 14 days of zero. Do you know what I mean? Because I haven't got my phones. That's what I don't wear. I don't wear a watch, a ring, a bracelet, whatever to track steps. So it's just done when my phone's in my pocket. So it's not tracking everything. 'Cause most of the time I'm in the gym, my phone is down on a bench or whatever. Anyway, but say it's 9,500 recorded, and it'll be the same. It'll be a fair like for like this year. So what I've said is that this year I want to average 10,000 plus per day average over the 2026. So it's actually only adding 500 extra steps a day on average.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is basically it's like 5 minutes walking a day, really. It's like I think I average about 1,000 per 10 minutes
Yeah.
when I walk. So it's very, very minimal. But the thing that I like about that, and I know that you have, and I know Steve Bush, who we mentioned earlier, has like this a total for the year of was yours 6 million? I want to think off the top of my head.
It is, yeah, but I'm more than 6.5 million.
Yeah,
So I've done that for the last 3 years. The first year
yeah,
I did it was 6.5 million or something.
yeah.
Last year was the next year was slightly less. Last year was back up again. Between all of them, I'm about 300 or 400 steps a day different.
Yeah, no. And what I was going to say, what I like is that when you have this daily step target, rather than having this big goal that's 3 months or 6 months down the line, you can win every single day. So when you go to bed, you can look and think, I've won today. I've got this positive affirmation, this kind of this positive thing that I set out to do something today and I did it. So I really like that in terms of as well going to bed at the same time every night or getting a certain amount of sleep, or doing, I don't know, we'll come on to it, but say 3 strength training sessions a week. It gives you opportunities to win and to feel success every single day or every single week. And your winning or your success is not based upon some big goal, in 3 months or 6 months or a year's time. So, yeah, I mean, walking, we talk about that all the time on the podcast, but I would say what I put in this post was to aim for, if you can, 7,000 a day, or just look at what you're doing and just do a bit more. So I said, if you're only doing 3,000 at the moment, try and do 4 or 5,000 this year. Or if you're doing, if you, a lot of people who've got dogs might walk further, so they might be looking for 12,000 a day. But I mean, I think that it's such an easy thing for all of us to track nowadays. Like even if it's just on your phone. I mean, I know you're obviously Mr. Walking, you know what I mean? But I think it's so powerful, isn't it?
Well, I do it because it's good for my physical health and it's really good for my mental health. I mean, it's good for everyone's mental health, but I just notice the benefit when I go, so I do it. There's a couple of things. Number one, you can set yourself up for success. So as we record, there's a storm coming through. It's going to be snowing all over the country. It's raining here. I took the dog out for a walk this morning. I don't usually go out in the morning. I usually go out in the afternoon and take them out for a few hours. I took them out this morning because it was going to piss it down from like lunchtime onwards. So that's done for the day. Yesterday, I went out and did 14 miles because I could. But the weather was lovely yesterday, and I knew this storm was coming. So I've set myself up for a win there because I did a lot of walking yesterday. I've done a little bit today. So therefore, I've got my steps in. So that's number one, because people will be like, oh, but the weather's rubbish. And it's like, it's not always rubbish. And there's weather forecasts. You can see what it's going to be like this week. So you can set it up and go, right, it's going to be lovely and sunny on Wednesday. I'll double my steps on Wednesday and because I'll do fewer Thursday or whatever, right? There's ways and means of doing that. So you can get ahead of it for a start. Or I'm going to be busy. I've got a whole day in the office. It's like, well, pick a day when you haven't and then try and do more. What was the other thing I was going to say? I can't remember. Oh, friend of the show, Paul Field, commented on when I put up about the 6 million steps. He commented on that and said he got 7,000 a day, average of 7,000 in or something. So he's going to try and up that to 10 or whatever. But also, friend of the show, Jeanette Dunridge, again, she sent an email through with some studies on about steps and how 7,000 steps is kind of the sweet. You know how people talk about 10,000 steps, and that was some Japanese study, which doesn't mean anything. Apparently 7,000 steps, according to some studies, is the sweet spot for like all-cause mortality and everything, right? Anything
which isn't a lot, is it? 7,000 is
really
not,
no, but anything more than that, and it doesn't really make a difference. Whereas, and that's fine, but for me it does because I enjoy being out and about, in the sunlight and all that sort of stuff. Anything less than that, and it isn't as good. But if you're doing 2,000, 3,000's better. If you're doing 3,000, 4,000's better. If you're doing 6,000, 7,000's better. If you're doing 7,000, 8,000 isn't necessarily better. However, it's not worse. So it's not like the curve goes up and it's like all-cause mortality is better here, and then the more steps you do, that it goes down. That doesn't happen. And then
well, it's probably a point of like diminishing returns where you're still getting a return, but it's a much smaller. You know what I mean? It's like that's the peak, and then
then the other friend of the show, Chris Denning, who's also been on as a guest ages ago, sent me through another study like a couple of days later with like, this might interest you. And that was a study saying 7,000 steps is pretty much the sweet spot. So I took a screenshot of the comment that I'd given back to a friend of the show, Paul Field, and it was like, basically, it's coming from all angles. 7,000 is about right. So if people are getting that, then that's fine.
And that's obviously, again, friend of the show, James Brees, had 777, didn't he? That was his thing for Strength Matters, yeah.
So the thing is, though, it doesn't matter what the number is. People know whether they're getting enough steps in or not. They just know, because I'll say to people about walking in that, and they'll go, "Yeah, I need to get out more." And it's like, well, do it then.
Yeah,
it's people know.
Yeah, because I think 2 or 3 nights in the last week, I've got to the evening and I've looked, and maybe I've had, say, 7,000 on there, 6 or 7,000. And I thought, I'm just going to sit here now for the rest of the evening, like on a sofa or whatever. I'm not going to move. I'm just going to go out for a walk now and just get my steps up. You know what I mean? Because I've got this thing in my head now about the 10,000. So, and I've gone out, and like I say, it literally takes like 30 minutes to just go out, put your shoes on, put a coat on, go out and walk around the block a few, have a little walk around the neighborhood and add 3 or 4,000 on, and it takes me over the 10. And I just feel better for being up and being out. That's the thing.
There's that. It changes. It's physically better for you, but it changes your brain chemistry as well, doesn't it? It changes how you think, literally. Where if you go out for 30 minutes, you'll come back feeling different.
Yeah, without a doubt. Excellent. So that's 3 done so far. That's sleep, nutrition, and walking. Now, the 4th big rock, again, probably no surprise, but I've got this down as strength training. So some kind of strength training or resistance training that you enjoy, that fits in with your lifestyle, that fits in with your goals. But we've spoke about this loads before. Strength training, you can do it with just body weight alone. You can use barbells, you can use dumbbells, you can use kettlebells, you can go to a gym and use machines, you can use resistance bands, you can use TRX type suspension trainers, you can use rocks, you can use, whatever it is. But some form of strength training, I think is one of the one of the big rocks now that's kind of widely accepted by most people, especially as many of our listeners are, say 40s, 50s and beyond. Especially as you start to get older, especially as if you're a female and you are, perimenopausal, menopausal, past that, if you're a man who is, 40s, 50s, 60s, all of us, muscle mass is kind of naturally going to be use it or lose it. It's going to be wasting away if we're not giving it a reason to stick around. So, I mean, I would say probably shoot for 3 sessions per week would be fantastic. But as Pete said earlier, if you're doing none, one is better than none. If you're doing one, two is better than one, and if you're doing two, three is better than two. And again, you'll probably get to a point where maybe 3 or 4, you probably don't need to be doing 5 or 6 or 7, but around that kind of three, 4 is probably that kind of sweet spot, I suppose, in terms of strength training. I mean, we both do that, Pete, don't we?
For that, I think the way I think about this is when people don't do any, how to get started, because it's daunting. Going out for a walk is daunting for some people, but it's easy. You can just go out for a walk. So while you're out walking, if you struggle walking up steps, do some step ups on the steps. You can find a high step and just step up onto it and back down, and then use the other foot. That's strength training, isn't it? And that's the very beginning of strength training. That's resistance training with only your body weight. And if
or
your body
sit to stands on a bench, sit down on the bench, stand up 10 times, 15 times,
or if
whatever,
you can, body weight squats or whatever, or stop and do some push-ups or whatever. You see people doing it all the time, push-ups on the back of a bench or whatever. And it all sounds a bit like, people, when you see people do that, people tend to look at them, don't they, going, they're a bit weird. But who gives a shit? It's like, it's that's a good place to start. But if you're already capable of all of that, then just getting some sort of weight bearing exercises like a push, a pull, a hinge, and a squat into your routine.
Yeah, I mean it's very straightforward. And again, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, we talk to so many guests from all different kind of walks of life, if you like, and all different disciplines of training around how to do strength training. But it is very, make it as simple as possible for your strength training. If you do want to go to a gym, you can go to a gym. But if you've got a few bits at home, Pete does all of his training at home. He's got a pull-up bar. He's got his kettlebells at home. You don't have to make it complicated. Very, very straightforward. So we think that the fourth big rock, if you like, would be strength training. The fifth one is kind of like one that's got a few things on it, which kind of encompass all things that are kind of connected, but that are really important for health and fitness, and more probably on the health side than the fitness side, but certainly longevity. And I've written down here mental health, stress management, kind of relationships, connection, all that the stuff that you don't often necessarily think of as to do with health and fitness, but healthy relationships, healthy, principles of stress management, maybe mindfulness, maybe when we had Pavel on the other week, Pavel Matchek, talking about meditation, quiet time, mindfulness, reading, all that kind of stuff is often overlooked, isn't it, Pete, in terms of, because people think fitness and they just think training,
Yes. I think I think this is overlooked because nutrition's a minefield and training is a minefield, even though it's not, right? Nutrition's not that if you want to get into the weeds of it, dietitians and stuff like that, and like your guy, what was his name?
Shane. Yeah.
He knows it like inside out. But what does your average person need to know? They just need to know, like, prioritize protein, get this many calories, simple stuff. And with training as well, bit of resistance training. Well, what does that look like? Well, just simple stuff. And then you can start to get further into it. Mindfulness, like meditation, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that could be anything. It could be any. And that's where I think people fall down on it. Is what do I do? Do I need a morning routine? Do I need like the Huberman joke of the morning routine that takes till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon? But there's so much you can do, and there's so many supplements you can take, and all of this for your mental clarity and all this sort of stuff. But it's like, right, well, what would work for you? Just sit down and count your breaths for 2 minutes. Have a cold shower, right? I mean, you do cold baths, right? That one you did on New Year's Day, we were talking about this, it was -2 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
When you couldn't even speak, you were like, I'm not doing a video. But the cold shower thing for me is really hard, but I can do it, but I don't enjoy it at all. But it doesn't matter because it makes me feel better every time. So, but you don't have to do that. People are like, right, so I need to do that, then do it. It's like, no, you don't. You can do whatever you want. That's the thing. And that's where I think people fall down, and that's where people get confused about it, which in turn makes them more stressed and think they're broken because I can't manage my mind, or it's fine, I don't need to. And then compensate for it and then start drinking and eating more and all of this sort of stuff. It all kind of feeds in, doesn't it? Whereas just find something that you want to do, because a lot of people talk about journaling as well, and journaling's hard. It's really hard. Like it's one of those things. People will say, I don't want to write things down, I don't want to get into that, because then I'll open this Pandora's box and my head will start to spiral. And it's like, well, don't start there, then start with trying to just and not trying to not think and all of that, like Pavel was talking about. It's like, just count your breaths, take one deep breath, just sit down for a couple of minutes and count your breaths or something like that, and then it puts you in a different state. Or go for a walk or whatever it is.
I think the other part of that we said was the kind of relationships and connection, which is, and if you can stack things together, so like you do with walking souls and walk bath, you can do something like being out in nature, walking, and connect with other people and get that kind of bond and that connection and that friendship, and that human connection while doing exercise. Or if you could join a book club, or join join a Tai Chi class, whatever
I
it
was
is.
going to say, I like the classes in your gym. You know what I mean? That's a form of mental. That's a form of meditation, I suppose. If people are at the gym doing classes in your place, like whether it's spin or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. They're not thinking about work.
Yeah,
They're not thinking about
when you meet
the house needs painting or whatever.
Yeah, and you're meeting other people. I mean, that's a big thing. And even your relationships at home, your close relationships. So relationships with, your spouse or your partner or your kids or your parents or whatever it is. It's just trying to really foster those relationships, because it's when those things are a struggle and stressful, that impacts everything. That impacts your mental health,
Yep.
and that impacts your everything. So, and then what we'll do is just like the sixth sort of thing, I suppose, would be, this is some of the stuff that people go to first of all, which is like we met, so much around at the moment around, saunas and hot tubs and ice baths and supplements is just like a massive like minefield, of supplements you can take. And and like we said, like massage guns and recovery protocols and the kind of stuff that we talked about with Theo Newton of Ultra
Yes.
Wellness, all that kind of stuff. Because so many people think, well, that's the stuff I need, the supplements and all those fancy stuff, which probably only actually tweak, like say up to 5% of the whole picture, of the whole pie. You know what I mean? If it's 100%, those things there are probably like 5%, at the top, the tip of the iceberg, if you like. And then you've got like sleep is probably, 30%, or say sleep's 20%, nutrition's 20%, walking's 20%, all those things are going to give you huge benefits. And then all those kind of little tinkering around the edges, all those things are probably going to give you that last 5%. So like we said when we started this conversation, you really need to put most of your efforts into the 5 big rocks that we've talked about today, and then all the other bits will be kind of like the cherry on top, of the cake. going back to the cakes that Pete was eating over Christmas, and so was I. But they're the
Oh, you
that's the
dropped
right
that in
thing.
there. You never said that when I said it. Oh, you were as well. You left that
Oh,
at
of
the end of
course I
the
was.
episode, so people might have switched off
No,
by
of
now. I
course
was
I
like,
was. I had a lovely.
James is whiter than white, isn't he? He's like,
No, 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 no. I had Christmas cake, mince pies. I didn't have any Christmas pudding this year.
I had some of that as well, and custard twice.
And I had some of those. What are they called? Those. It's not stollen. What's it called? Is it like pan? What's it called?
Panna cotta. We've got one of those there.
Is it like that's like a tall kind of cake thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
they're rubbish. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's rubbish.
You don't like
We've
it?
got one there, and I was like, I've never had it before, right? And I know what they are, but I've never had it before. And there's one there, and I went, where did we get that from? I don't even know where it came from.
Yeah.
Sean's like, oh, somebody gave it to us. So it was like, okay.
Yeah.
So we had a bit, and I was like, right, I don't want it. Here's the thing: if I like it, great. But I
Yeah.
was like, that was. I could take it or leave it, so I'm not
Mm.
going to have any more because it's just a waste of
Yeah.
calories.
Oh, I also had the old chocolate log, like Yule log.
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't go
yeah,
that far.
that's
We had a
good,
lot of
yeah.
cheese though, a lot of cheese. I've been a lot of
I've
cheese.
got, I've got, I've got huge amounts of cheese still in the fridge. Not that we bought, that my mum brought round and said, "I've got all this cheese. We've not eaten it, and I don't really want to eat it, all, so it's just sat in the fridge."
The
But
thing is, though, it's
anyway,
like there's nothing wrong with that. You just eat it over time, don't you? Have it
yeah,
with some meals, and I'll have it with my like eggs in the morning and stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there's not, a little bit of
It's
cheese.
not like it all has to be eaten in one go. Yeah,
No, exactly.
exactly. But no, so hopefully, guys, I mean that's given us something to think about. I mean, 3 weeks into January, these are where we need to be looking at. And like I say, I've encouraged my members at Unique Results to do the to set themselves this kind of average daily target for the whole of 2026, because then it stops you trying to think about doing anything too extreme where it's all got to be done this week or it's all got to be done this month. It's kind of sets you on this path for the whole of the year, and we'll look back on that in a year's time, and that's going to be far more beneficial than trying to do anything extreme throughout January. And as well is, and there's nothing wrong with these things, but this kind of, is it called like dry January or something, where people don't drink any alcohol for January, or that there's veganuary where you become a vegan for January and the rest of it. If it's just got like a 1 month kind of challenge attached to it, and at the end of that month you just go back to what you were doing, or potentially you rebound and go even further the other way because you've not had it, far more sensible to be moderate, I think. But
I know people, and I see it online on Facebook and stuff like that, who do dry January, and then the first day in February they're like, "Oh, I've been waiting for this pint." It's like a Tuesday or something when they wouldn't usually have a pint, but they're going to have one because it's the 1st of February, and it's like, well, that went well then, didn't it?
yeah. But as well, it's a knee-jerk reaction by most people who do it because they've overindulged and overconsumed throughout December, isn't it? So they've drank loads throughout December and Christmas and New Year, and it's a knee-jerk reaction to that. Whereas I didn't drink very much over I didn't drink any more over December than I would do normally, which is not very much at all. So so I don't feel like I need to kind of massively detox myself, because it was just a normal time, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Anyway, guys, that was nice little catch up today. Next week we are going to be back with episode 283, and we're going to be joined by William Person from the USA, who was part of the Team USA bobsleigh setup, I think, for 10 years, and is now doing a lot of work around kind of concussions and for athletes, and also for, I think, military personnel and things like that. So that will be really interesting. Not something we've ever talked about on the podcast before. We've also got a couple more guests lined up over the next few weeks. So there's going to be lots going on for you to listen to, lots of good stuff. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so, especially Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify. Follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube. And we will be back next week, won't we, Pete?
We will.
So we're going all the way through now. This is going to be, I mean, today was 282. So in what's that, 18 weeks, we're going to be on episode 300. So yeah, that'll be quite a milestone for us, which will be fantastic. So yeah, stick with us throughout 2026. Thank you everybody for all of your listening, all of your watching, all of your support so far over the last, well, nearly 5.5 years now. I think we've been doing this, and we will be back with you next week. Until then, bye bye.